All right, continuing, let's go back to the next graphic here. And the next concept we want to talk about is when factoring four terms. Oh, Young, they're getting larger. Yes, these polynomials will increase in size. When factoring four terms, we like to use the expression factor by grouping. And when we do that, we want to first arrange the polynomial in descending order of powers. Now, a lot of times they do that for you in the introductory books, but in the nastier books, when you get to the college level classes, they don't. So go ahead and make sure you put it in descending order. And then you want to also look at which groupings have common numbers or variables in them. So you kind of have to match things up when you do these factor by groupings. And be sure to separate the two parentheses with a plus sign. Now, I know what some of you are thinking about that last statement. What do you mean by that, Young? So we'll go to some examples here and we'll illustrate. Okay, back to the examples. So notice I've got factor by grouping. Always do this when you have four terms, and it's easy to tell when you have four terms. These next two examples do. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And notice I have them all in nice what kind of order? Yeah, descending order of power. So you want to arrange them in that. So when we group, we're going to go ahead and notice there's some common things in the first two terms and in the last two terms here. So I'm going to just go ahead and slap some parentheses on that. Now, why is the plus sign so important here? Well, if it wasn't a plus sign there, that would look like what? It would look like you're multiplying, or you'd have to FOIL these things, wouldn't you? See, so that plus sign is real important there. All right. Now, what I'm going to do now is, what do these first two terms have in common? I'm going to take the greatest common factor of these first two terms out. And I think if you've been practicing some we've been talking about in the past, you would say, well, gee, Young, it looks like a 5x squared comes out of each one of these. And when I take that 5x squared out and divide each term by it, what's left in here? Well, I'm going to be left with 2x minus 5. And then you do the same thing to the second pair you've grouped here. What comes out of these two? What goes into 4 and 10? The largest number, the greatest common number that goes into 4 and 10 is a 2. So we're going to write plus 2 there and divide each term by 2. What's left? 2x minus 5. Now, something look familiar with what we just did here? We took the greatest common factor of the first two and wrote it. Greatest common factor of the second two and wrote it. And yes, we can start singing a song here. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. There it is again. Or bye, 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 whichever group you're from. So now you can take that 2x minus 5 out and then put what's left in the parentheses. All right, there's that common 2x minus 5, and you can write it right underneath here if you want to. So I'm always taking the greatest common factor and I'm sneaking it underneath all these things. And I always put the greatest common factor as the first part of my answers in all these. All right, so I'm left with 5x squared plus 2. Right? Now, anything in common in these parentheses? No. So life is good. And if I FOIL this, watch what happens. The first two terms, 2x times 5x squared, gives me what I started with up here, 10x cubed. The outside two terms, 2x times 2, 4x. Oop, there it is. The inside two terms, minus 5 times 5x squared. The inside two here, it gives it smiley face. Remember the smiley face of FOIL? Minus 25x squared. And the last two terms, minus 10. So this will indeed FOIL, okay, FOIL to check. So these factor by grouping problems you can check by FOILing. I like it. All right, let's try one more here. Now on this one again, it's in descending order, so we're going to go ahead and group first two terms and last two terms. Now I'm going to have to sneak my plus sign in there because again, this looks like multiply if I don't. So I'm going to crunch a plus sign between there to show these are separated by an addition symbol. All right, greatest common factor of the first two. Let's see how good you're getting out there. 2 goes into the numbers. How many y's? 2 y's also are in common. So we can take out 2y squared out of these first two and then put what's left in here. So I'll go ahead and put that greatest common factor right underneath each term and divide, get my ducks in a row, and I get y plus 6. Now on the second two, you have to be kind of careful here with signs. I can either take what kind of 5 out. I think everyone sees there's a 5 in common, but I could either take a negative 5 out or a positive 5 out. Which is it, Young? Well, remember, when you factor by grouping and do it right, you want to try to get to our friend the bye-bye. All right, so you want to try to force that bye-bye when you can. So what we're going to take out here to do that is a -5, and I'll show you why momentarily. So we'll go ahead and take that -5 and line it up there, and watch what happens. Negative divided by negative gives me what kind of y? Positive. And again, negative divided by negative, +6. There it is. Bye, bye, bye. The binomial with a binomial in common. So you could take that common y plus 6 out and put what's left in the parentheses, which in this case would be what's in front here, the 2y squared minus 5. Foil that, you'll get what you started with back, guaranteed, or your money back.